After a good night's sleep at the DoubleTree Hotel in Aqaba, Jordan, we were told that the bus would leave at noon. This meant that we had a few hours on our own. Aqaba lies at Jordan's most southern point at the tip of the Red Sea. We made it down to the seashore of the Gulf of Aqaba. This location is the crossroads of the continents Asia and Africa, while bordering Israel, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. In these pictures, we are standing in Jordan, and the shore that you see across the Gulf is actually Egypt. It was pretty amazing to think about. I've always wanted to go to Egypt, but I don't know if it's the friendliest and safest place to go right now. Probably will never make it there at this point. We were accosted by these Jordanians who wanted us to pay them so we could go on their glass-bottom boat. They were very persistent, and we were a bit apprehensive as we were unfamiliar with just about everything here. But we ran into people from our group who were from Texas, and they said they would split the cost with us and join us. Safety in numbers, right? So we went and felt pretty safe. But this turned out to be the absolute best way to spend our morning. It was amazingly beautiful. It was very hot, and being on the water certainly helped cool us down. And a great way to tour the area without having to walk. So these are some views from the glass-bottom boat. I've read that the Gulf of Aqaba is famous for its scuba diving and snorkeling. I guess there's quite a large reef there. So the Gulf of Aqaba is a 99-mile extension of the Red Sea, and it is an important transportation route for oil, with its shores being lined with industrial plants, naval bases, and chemical export facilities. So there's a delicate marine ecosystem underground with the coral reef. This was a photo of a sunken tank that they took us over. Our friends from Texas were kind enough to snap a picture of us. This is the shore of Egypt, the coastline of Egypt. It was amazing to see all the large ships in this Gulf. I'm sure most of them were carrying oil. So the seaside of Aqaba is perhaps the best known and considered a playground for the Middle East's rich and famous. And it's also interesting to note that if you saw the pictures from before of the seaside, the beach was relatively empty, and that was a Sunday morning. I've looked on TripAdvisors to kind of get an understanding of Aqaba, and everyone was saying how the beaches, especially the public beaches, which is where we were just immensely crowded during the weekends, and dirty, but we didn't find that at all. The beach was relatively empty, very clean. It was beautiful. Couldn't ask for anything better right at that spot. Since we were only given just a few hours in Aqaba before we had to board the bus, I think we were very fortunate to be able to do something like this. It was completely unplanned and was a lot of fun. I'm so glad that we got this experience. The two guys that shared this boat ride with us, they were just walking along the seashore like we were. They had separated temporarily from their spouses, and they were a little bit apprehensive about going because they knew their spouses would be so jealous. And sure enough, I think they got in a little bit of trouble for joining us without their spouses coming along. It was an amazing little excursion. Here's one of the scuba diving boats that we saw. You can see all the tanks in the back. Some pretty nice looking hotels along the shoreline. This is probably one of the nicest areas that we saw in Jordan. Yeah, not probably. It was the nicest area that we saw in Jordan. This was beautiful. The rest of Jordan that we saw was definitely not like this. What a beautiful picture this is with Eliot in the background. I love that picture. Some young Jordanian boys playing on the rocks. I like that too. I wish the picture was a little bit more clear. Okay, so we boarded the bus and took a 2-hour ride to Petra, which is where we would be staying the night in a Bedouin campsite. We were able to stop at a McDonald's for lunch. That was amazing. We had it with the Israeli food, so a McDonald's was great. We stopped at a little gift shop and took some pictures at this little overlook that they had. It was a beautiful little gift shop, just along the side of a road in the middle of nowhere. Fred bought me a beautiful red handmade scarf. It was $150 US. It was so pretty though, I love it. I also splurged for 2 camel bone and jade daggers at this gift shop. Some people of our group playing around with some of the headdresses. Now, this is a Bedouin camp, and they were teasing us on the way there, saying that this was the Bedouin camp similar to where we would be staying that night. You know, I have not fact-checked this, but our guide told us that in Jordan that they filmed the movie Lawrence of Arabia, and also over 60 other movies filmed in this Jordanian desert. It was extremely interesting while we were driving to Petra to look at the countryside. This is just a small town that we passed through on our way to Petra. You know, the UN has classified Jordan as a middle-income nation. However, the country's poor climate conditions contribute significantly to its high poverty rate. Jordan's primary exports are textiles, fertilizers, potash, phosphates, vegetables, and pharmaceuticals, with the United States being its primary export partner. Okay, so we finally arrived at the Bedouin camp. We're about 3.5 miles from Petra, which is our destination point tomorrow. So we are at an Amoran Bedouin camp. The Amoran Bedouin camp is a spiritually, historically, ecologically oriented Bedouin camp in Baida. It lies in a soft, sandy enclave surrounded by amphitheater-shaped rocks, like a hidden gem still untouched by mass tourism. These are the tents that we stayed in at night. They are actually made of goat hair. The Bedouins are primarily goat herders. Hospitality is also a part of the Amoran's lifestyle. It's just not a job for them. This camp is a sustainable camp that supports this specific tribe. I believe I read that the funds that they receive from running this camp support, I believe, 1,200 people. So check this out. This is a little area where they sit and relax, I guess. Now, it has been so hot here, it's just been almost unbearable. But you get here in this canyon, and there is this amazing breeze, and it's very cool. Look at that. God. That's beautiful. This was the main area where we ate our dinner later in the evening. It was quite a different culture, and it was beautiful, and it was a very unique experience. And I think when I first got there, I was just in awe of this extremely different way of life. The Amarin tribe everyone was so friendly. It really was a joy. Absolutely beautiful here.
قلت ما اي قلت اذا حابين يشتروا شو اسمه لا قلت اذا حابين يشتروا
You hear the little lambs or goats, excuse me. There they are. Look at the goats. Okay, so that was really so cool. I just was up on the rock with a couple of those Bedouins, and I actually shared a cigarette with them, but they offered and I didn't say no, so they were so sweet. Mahmoud was his name. Okay, so now it's later in the evening. It's getting ready to be dinner time, and they are starting to cook our dinner in what they call this underground stove. Dinner will consist of chicken or lamb and vegetables and rice and pita.
Food is underground. Yeah. It's actually the tray inside. Look inside that. Which one's
Yeah, this is Bedouin McDonald's.
Did you hear him? That's Bedouin.
They cook anything in there, like vegetables, chicken, rice, anything.
So this was the dining area. We all sat on the floor on these pillows and had our dinner. It was pretty good. After dinner, we sat around a fire, and the head Bedouin made this special type of Bedouin coffee, and everyone passed it around and drank some of it. I will say that I did not drink any of it, but Fred did. I think he enjoyed doing that. We then retired for the evening to our goat-haired tent and had a wonderful night's sleep.